Hello again. Now we're going to talk about grammar, and more specifically about reported speech. We have got two sisters, Estella and Helen. Both of them love going to the cinema, and especially Estella. But one day she couldn't make it, so she's asking Helen, "Where did you go yesterday?" And Helen says, "I went to the cinema." Well, this conversation between the two girls, between the two sisters, is called active speech because it is happening just now. All right? Now, if we want to state what is reported speech, reported speech is when somebody else reports the words that another person said. So, Helen said to Estella that she had gone to the cinema the previous day. So, from active speech that is happening now, we go to the reported speech. These words were reported by someone else, were said by someone else. The focus and the main difference between the active and the passive speech, the reported speech, is that this happens in the present, whereas here we go to the past. All right, let's be more specific now, and let's see all those differences that we will face while dealing with the reported statements. First of all, we said that we're going to see the differences in the tenses. So, all present tenses become past tenses. So, if we have present simple, then in the reported statements, we will see if we have the present simple, it will become a past simple. If we have a present continuous form, it will be a past continuous form. If our tense is given in the present perfect, then in the reported statement, we will have a past perfect. If we have a past simple tense, then in the reported, we will get a past perfect tense. Continuing, a past perfect, it is going to remain a past perfect. So, please focus a little bit here. We have got present perfect, past simple, and past perfect, and all of them, all the three of them, become a past perfect. And that is why we said whatever is in the present becomes a past. But if it is in the past, then it is going to remain like that. Whereas the past simple is in the past, but we go again one tense back. Apart from the tenses, we have some changes in some modal verbs, like can, in the reported statement, will become could, or will be changed into would, or, for example, be going to is going to be changed into was or were going to. Finishing with the tenses, we also have some changes in the pronouns. We have demonstrative pronouns, personal, object pronouns, and possessive pronouns. These as well are going to change. So, this becomes that. These become those. I or we becomes he, she, or they, depending on who is speaking. Me becomes him or her, again, if it is a boy or a girl, and us becomes them. My will become his or her, and our becomes their. So, we saw the changes in the tenses and in some pronouns Apart from those changes, we also have some changes in time expressions and words referring to places. But let's see them. So, now becomes then. Today becomes that day. Yesterday becomes the previous day or the day before. You can choose one of those two to use and not all of them. 2 hours ago becomes 2 hours before. Tomorrow becomes the day after or the following day. And here that becomes there, of course. So, let's capitalize what we just said. We have the changes in the tenses, in the pronouns, and in time expressions or words that refer to places. Now, we're going to practice in order to put whatever we learn into practice. Let's see the first example. I have never heard of this artist, said Susan. So, we're going to change this direct speech into the reported speech. So, Susan said, she, who? It was Susan speaking because it was I that became she. Have, that is in the present, that becomes in the past, had, and this, that will change into that. So, what did we change? We changed the pronoun, we changed the verb, and we also changed those words that referred to, what did we say? To places and time. So our final sentence in the reported statement, as a reported statement, becomes, Susan said she had never heard of that artist. Let's see another example. Dad, I am meeting Anne tomorrow, said Helen. So, Helen spoke to Dad. That's why we start. Helen told Dad. When we have the pronoun I, it is going to be she because Helen talked to Dad. So, I becomes she. The present continuous becomes a past continuous, was meeting, and the word tomorrow becomes the following day. So, our sentence becomes, Helen told Dad she was meeting Anne the following day. And the last example, I can sell you some of my pictures, Paul said to me. So, Paul said that, you can either use it or not. I, who was speaking? It was Paul. So, I becomes he. Can in the present becomes could in the past, that we said, and some of my pictures, since it was Paul speaking, becomes his pictures. So, Paul said that he could sell me some of his pictures. We finished with the reported statements. Now we're going to deal with the reported questions. There are some differences with the reported statements that we just did. Please, I want you to follow me one by one so that we can clarify things. Let's take a look at the first sentence, at the first question. Has Janie answered all the questions? Asked Tom. Now, this is the question. But whenever we have a question, we're going to report a statement and not a question anymore. So, what are those things that we should keep into our mind? So, this is a yes or no question. So, when I'm going to report it back, I am going to use the word if. So we start. Tom asked if, that is the first step, we put if. Then we put the subject, that was Jenny. Then we put the verb in the past, as we said. So from present perfect, it becomes a past perfect, and the remaining of the sentence. Okay, let's revise again. Which are those steps that we should follow whenever we have a yes or no question? First, we put if or whether. Then we put the subject. Then we change the tense. And in the end, we said that there is no more question. So no question mark, but a full stop. It is exactly the same thing as the other question, but now we don't have a yes or no question, but a WH question. So our question starts with a WH word. It is exactly the same, but instead of using if now, we are using the word that is with a WH. So it could be when, it could be where, why, who, whichever word. Again, Sam asked us when John and Mary had split up. Okay, let's go and analyze that. The question was, when did John and Mary split up? Sam asked us. So we start. Sam asked us. The first step we said is when. The second step to put the subject, that is John and Mary. And the third step to put the verb in the past. So, from past simple, we have a past perfect had split up. Don't forget, we don't have a question mark anymore. Be careful with the punctuation, but we have a full stop at the end of the sentence. And the last thing that we're going to deal with today are imperatives. What are imperatives? When we are actually giving an order, even if it might be a polite order, still it is an order. We have two types of imperatives, the positive one and the negative one. Let's see the positive one. Please stop talking. The director asked us. How are we going to change this into a reported speech? So, the director asked us to stop talking. So, in the imperative form, that is a positive form, we only put to, and it continues the sentence. Whereas, if we have a negative form, don't take any photos of me, Sue said to Tom. Can we see? It starts with don't. So it is negative. So, Sue told Tom. So from said to becomes told. Told Tom. The word, the expression don't becomes not to take any photos. And of course, me, remember that we talked about the pronouns, becomes her, because it was Sue that told Tom. All right? So, positive forms in the orders to do something, negative forms not to do something. And the last thing for today, we're going to practice a little bit those sentences that we just did. All right, take a look, please. Let's read the first sentence together. Will you give us an autograph? The boys asked the actress. We start from the second part. So the boys asked the actress. What do we have? We have a yes or no question. So we're going to put those things that we learned. So we have, first of all, if, then we have the subject, then the tense in the past, and the full stop that is made for us here. Okay? So the boys asked the actress if, first part, subject, she would give them, because it was will and it became would, and of course the rest. In this way, we have the second example again, but this now, it is a WH question. So, when did you lose your mobile phone? Nick asked Eve. Okay, let's see that together again. Nick asked Eve. The first step, we put the WH word. The second step, we put the subject, that is she, because it was Eve that lost her mobile phone. The third step, from the past simple, we put a past perfect, and this is how our sentence becomes Nick asked Eve when she had lost her mobile phone. Number 3, as we can see here, we have got some now imperatives. Don't interrupt me, she told John. She told John, do you remember what we said about the negative form? Don't becomes not to. So, she told John not to interrupt her. Not to, and our verb. And the last one, please fasten your seatbelt. The flight attendant asked us. It is an imperative and it is a positive form. So, the flight attendant asked us, it is a positive form, so it takes to. So, the flight attendant asked us to fasten our seatbelts. Okay, I do believe that now things are clearer, and do not hesitate to open your class books, to open your student's book, and to practice a little bit more with all the reported statements, reported questions, and imperatives that we did together. Thank you for paying attention, and, well, I wish you all the best.